So today we're going to dive into a very specific component of healing, energy healing at distance. And I'm going to show you why it's so imperative to be able to tap into the past life experiences of another human being. You see, our bodies and brains are biological computers, and we're always uploading and downloading code. We're always uploading and downloading data. Everywhere we go, we're exchanging information with the trees, with people, with other sentient beings. We're downloading into the earth and uploading from the earth. We're pulling frequency from the stars and uploading back up. So there's always this multifaceted, multidimensional communication taking place. And you're a soul in a human body, and your soul is having this experience right now in this human body. My soul is having an experience in this physical body that everybody knows as Jerry. Your physical reality is a very small slither of what's really taking place. Your soul is also playing out multiple experiences in other reality fields, past lives, future lives, which once you get out of this physical reality are really all now. So you've got all of these things simultaneously taking place in the same time, in the same space, in the same moment. I'm going to show you a diagram, and we're going to discuss this. If you look at this diagram and you see X and Y, X and Y is the physical world. This is the reality that we're playing the game of life in right now. If you look between minus Y and minus X, that's what we would call in star magic the inverted field, or you could call it the quantum field. But there's a reason I call it the inverted field. If you look at X and Y and you fold it back on itself, it completely mirrors minus Y and minus X. Minus Y and minus X and X and Y are complete representations of each other. X and Y, this physical world, is like the swan moving across the top of the lake, and Y and minus X is the swan's feet going 10 to the dozen under the water. All of the effort, all of the main components of reality that are making the physical world tick, i.e. the swan move across the water, is the inverted field. It's under the water. It's like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is above the water in the physical world, but the main component of the iceberg is under the water between minus Y and minus X. When someone comes to me and they say, Jerry, I've got this particular injury, illness, disease, they're telling me about a physical symptom in this reality field, in this physical world. And my job is to find out what created that. Once I create it, I can change it and shift it, and their programming can disappear. But most of the time, their programming doesn't originate in the physical world. It originates between minus Y and minus X. X and Y is everything physical. If you look at the 0 point, that's the point when the baby comes out of the mother's womb and into this reality. And from the 0 point to Z is this timeline that they're on right now, between 0 years old and 30, 40, 50, 60, whatever age the human being is right now. From the 0 point back to minus Z, that's going through their ancestral timelines, their past lives, future lives. Anything that is in the quantum is held in the inverted field. Just because the timeline goes from Z to the 0 point, okay, and that is this physical reality. You can't get logical about this and think that their future lives will be from the 0 point to Z, and then from Z onwards up that timeline into the future. No, because the future is still in the quantum, because the future hasn't happened yet. The past has happened and is happening in the quantum. So everything that isn't in this physical reality is held in that inverted field. Now, you could have multiple timelines. You could have from Z to minus Z. There could be 3 of these, or 2 of these, or 4 of these. There could be multiple timelines playing out in the healing session. But for now, we're just going to keep it very simple and use one Z to minus Z line. Now, when a child comes out from their mother's womb onto planet Earth, in the first 7 years of their life, they always get an opportunity to deal with their greatest trauma. Now, that greatest trauma could come from a past life, it could come from a future life, it could come from several past life experiences. It may come from several off-planet experiences. These other lifetimes don't have to originate on planet Earth. They could be from our galactic origins, and quite a lot of the time there are. So much trauma has been carried from millions and billions of years ago, from galactic wars, other planets, different universes. And so the trauma fields that is playing out in most humans is vast. But going into this inverted field, you can change things very quickly. Now, let's say, for example, I've got a client, and the client is 36 years old, okay? Let's say this is 36 here on the timeline. I know that this human being has got massive abandonment trauma, massive rejection trauma, and that is my greatest issue too. Let's talk about me. Let's talk about me in this circumstance. Okay, let me give myself as an example. I'm actually 46 years old. So let's say this is 46 on the timeline. Okay, now 2 weeks after I was born, I was put up for fostering. But actually, when I came out here into the world, I was taken from my birth mother straight away. If you've ever read my book, Activate Your Superhuman Potential, you know how crazy my birth was. But there was huge abandonment and rejection literally minutes after I came out of my mother's womb. Then a couple of weeks, I went to my first foster parents. Okay, during this period, I was raped. Now, this is creating more abandonment trauma, more rejection trauma, more abuse. Now, when you first come out of your mother's womb, or even at 2 weeks old, what babies are in the right state of mind to think, you know what, this is my greatest trauma, I'm going to deal with this. So what happens is, let's say at 2 weeks, you get the opportunity to deal with it, but obviously it doesn't happen. You're just a baby. Somewhere between 2 weeks, which is still kind of 0 years, and 7 years, you're going to get another opportunity to deal with that greatest trauma. Let's say it happens at 4. Okay, this is 4 years old. Right? At 4 years old, how many babies are ready to deal with their greatest trauma? I mean, they only just started walking and talking and getting into life. So it's highly unlikely that it's going to happen. Then let's say somewhere between 4 and 11, which is another 7-year cycle. Let's say it happens at 9. Okay. At 9 years old, how many babies or how many children are ready to deal with their greatest trauma? Not many. What happens is you run these 7-year cycles. Okay. And you keep getting the opportunity to deal with your trauma. Most people don't usually deal with it until they get to 40, 30, 35, 40, 45 is a good age. When people start to really sort of look deeper into themselves, because what happens is by that time, the trauma that keeps resurfacing now has a symptom. You've now got a growth in your liver. You've now got a rash on your arm. Your eyesight started to deteriorate. Your hearing's disappeared. Something's happened and it's making the human being think, I really need to look at myself. So quite often they go into the medical world, drugs, all of that sort of stuff, operations. And there are some times that Western medicine will be able to help these people. But a lot of the time it doesn't. It's only temporary. And the reason it's temporary is because, for example, you cut a growth out of a human being's body. Yes, the growth disappears, but it doesn't cut out the trigger point, the thing, the event, the circumstance, the emotion, the trauma that created the symptom in the first place. Okay. And you could say that symptom or that trigger point happens here at 9, or you could say it happens here at 2. You could say it happened here at 2 weeks. You could say it happens here at 0. And there are times when you can deal with the traumas at these early ages. But from my personal experience working with thousands of people all over planet Earth, this is only the tip of the iceberg. And if you really, 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 really want to help someone, you're going to have to go into that inverted field. So whenever I go in to do a healing session, the first question I'm going to ask is, please show me something I don't know to help me facilitate the healing of this incredible human being. And my aim is to get as far down this timeline as possible. Now, when I ask that question, I might end up going to here, and this could be 1811. It could be 1436. It doesn't actually really matter. But when you get good at doing this work, you start to pick out the time-space coordinates. But to create the actual healing, it doesn't matter when it was. The aim of the game is to go as far down the minus said timeline as possible. Now, let's say, for example, I go to this point here and I find a reality where the soul is a woman in this reality. Okay, my soul is a woman. Okay, my soul in this reality is a man. In that reality was a woman, and I found some more rejection trauma. What I would do is connect to that piece of my soul in that reality, or my client's soul. I would clean it up, make sure there's no heavy energy, make sure there's no dark beings, shadow parasites, demons, any of that stuff. I would completely clean up their fields. I would communicate with them, and I would bring that piece of them into healing. Now, it may be that as soon as I do that, the symptoms in the physical reality of me or my client clear up. Brilliant, everything's done. It may be that they get a little bit better, but it's not all cleared up. I know that there's a deeper reality on that minus said timeline. So I might have to go in and do another healing session. This time, I might go to here. And when I get to here, I find another reality to do with rejection. This could be 1,000,000 years ago. It could be 1,000,000,000 years ago. It could be 800 years ago. Doesn't matter. But it's going to be further back than when the first point on the timeline was, that first blue dot. Now, when I go into the reality field of this second blue dot, which is another soul experience, I'm going to bring that soul into healing again. Now, this time, the injury, the illness, the disease might fully clear up. Excellent. The healing's done. Now, if we rewind here, let's say, for example, I asked the question, please show me something I don't know to help me facilitate the healing of this incredible human being. And what happens is I go right down this timeline, real far. And back here, I find a really old reality. Now, there could be some other lifetimes where there's been experiences that have created rejection trauma. Okay, there could have been multiple realities. But if I'm able to get to this deepest one here, and I can bring that into healing, what's going to happen is as this comes into healing, all of these other ones on this timeline, they get knocked over like bowling pins. Okay? They transmute, they shift, they disappear. And so by going right to the deepest root cause, everything in front of that gets slammed down and knocked over and brought into one healing session. When you're traveling down that minus said timeline and you get to that deepest root point and you knock all of those other soul fragments, pieces of the soul that need healing, you bring them home into healing and everything takes place. That's brilliant. Sometimes you can't access that deepest root point. Okay? Now, if you get to here and you heal that, all of these are coming into healing, like I just said. But it may be that I can only access this one here. And the reason that would be is because the human being's higher self knows that they can only handle this one and this one in one healing session. And to bring this one and this one into healing in the same healing session might be too much emotional release. When people go through an emotional release, we call it a healing process. I speak to so many healers and they call it a healing crisis. Why the heck would you want to call it a healing crisis? Okay, this isn't a crisis. This is a process that someone is going through whilst they shift and move back to a state of equilibrium. And yes, it might be like a little bit of a roller coaster whilst the old anger, the old rejection, the old guilt, the old fear is coming out. But it's all good. You're going to move back to a state of equilibrium, peace, clarity, and presence. It might take a couple of days, it might take a couple of months, everybody's different, but you will get there. But sometimes the higher self knows that it's just a bit too much to process in one go, so it will let you process 2 or 3 lifetimes, and then you come back for another healing session a month later, a few weeks later, 6 weeks later, whatever it is, and you deal with the rest. Or it may be that it's 3 healing sessions. In an ideal world, we'll go straight to the deepest root point and get it done in one session. But that's not always the case. Genetic, ancestral conditioning, which gets held in the RNA, the DNA, that's in the inverted field. Okay, parallel realities, past lives, future lives, everything is in that inverted field. If you want to be an amazing healer, you got to get used to working like this. You got to be able to tap the information in the inverted field, because that is where the deepest trauma lies. You can get access to this information in my book, Healing with Light Frequencies, the transformative power of star magic. On our level 1 training, we teach this kind of information. We do online trainings, we do in-person trainings. What I know from teaching thousands of people from over 60 countries is that everybody can do this. I mean, I just take myself for example. You know, I used to have a very, very different life. I used to think that the universe, God, infinite intelligence, anything energetic and spiritual was for nutcases, for weirdos. And now I'm one of those nutcases. I'm one of those weirdos that shares this stuff day in, day out. When you see people shift and change from this work all the time, it blows your mind. You never think, oh yeah, it's just another day at the office. You're like, wow. This is incredible. You see people going through these processes and healing their own eyesight. You see people go through these processes and healing lifelong terminal illnesses where they've been given 6 weeks to live, 8 weeks to live. And they go through these processes and they heal. Now, once you get down that minus Z timeline, there are many different ways that you bring the soul into healing, or the soul fragment into healing. And I'm going to discuss those in another video. But for now, this information will give you clarity on where you need to look, where you need to put your focus and your attention if you want to facilitate the healing of another human being. And I say facilitate the healing of another human being because no one can really heal anyone else. What we do in Star Magic is we create an environment so the human being can self-heal. And we do that by shifting information that they're uploading and downloading into their biological computer. Once you shift that, human beings can have a biological upgrade and physical symptoms can disappear. But that's their own body kicking in. It's their own mechanisms because we were designed to self-heal. We weren't designed to be ill. But you got to look at it. Healthy people don't make money. So it's not in the best interest of certain authoritative figures to teach people how to be healthy because there are certain companies that wouldn't make money. So keeping us unhealthy is in their best interest. For me, I want to see a free world, a sovereign world. I want human beings to be able to stand in their power, in full sovereignty, knowing how to read these communication devices, these physical bodies so that when they have a physical symptom, they know exactly what it means because all body parts mean something. The back of the neck, stubbornness, rigidity. The liver, guilt, anger. The hips, direction. The wrists, hands, holding on. Joints, flexibility. Lower back, money and support. Middle of the back, guilt. All of the body parts mean something. All injuries, illnesses and diseases mean something. The body is the most accurate communication device that I've ever come across. It never gets it wrong. It's amazing. Wherever you are on planet Earth, beautiful soul, go out and love your sisters and brothers fiercely and ferociously. Hug them tightly and never be the first to let go. That's the golden rule of hugging. Check out our website, starmagichealing.org. If you want to train in Star Magic, go and check out Facilitated Training Level 1, 2, and 3. Go to Infinity. Get free access right now for 7 days to all of our Ascension tools. If you want to raise your vibration, be happy, stay focused, live in a world of abundance, then go to Infinity. We got hundreds of guided meditations, light language transmissions, cosmic yoga videos, high frequency nutrition, light codes to activate your Merkaba field, your Kundalini, your third eye. We got mystery school teachings on so many different topics. We've got private groups so you can connect with beautiful souls just like you on this same ascension mission. Souls that want to raise the vibration and make this world a better place. So go and join us at starmagichealing.org and I'll see you on the inside, beautiful soul. Go and be awesome. Go and be extraordinary and enjoy this life. Laugh a little bit. Go a bit crazy. Have fun, okay? This world isn't supposed to be boring and too serious. But most of the time, we take it too seriously. So let go a little bit and I'll see you soon. One love, one heart, one human family. Peace out, beautiful soul.